चला रही हूँ इनको लाइव कर दूं you are live ma'am start
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for the delay today because of technical problem. But anyway, so to start with, we will continue with Unit 4 that we started in the last class. If any of you remember, we were doing Where the Wild Things Are by Morris Sandak, and we discussed how to write an FIR. I did tell you that I would send you the YouTube links for the RTI. Since I haven't, I know that. I will send it today after class positively. But since I haven't sent those links, today we will not be doing RTI because I want you to watch those videos before we start discussing how to write the RTI. Like the format will only be helpful to you if you know uh, the basics of what the RTI is. And I think those YouTube videos are very helpful for you to understand what an RTI is. Because again, RTI is a legal procedure. So I think, and those YouTube videos, in those YouTube videos, a lawyer takes time to explain what an RTI is and gives you a lot of examples. So as a legal person associated with the law, I think a lawyer explains the process better to you. And once you have watched those videos, we will discuss in class the format of the RTI. But today, what we are going to do, we are going to finish the rest of that chapter by Morris Sandak. And after we have finished the chapter, we will discuss how the format of a diary entry, because it comes for your exams. And I will give you like I will give you a question from one of your question papers, and I would ask you all to do it for your own practice. So this is what I have planned for today's class. So let us continue with the chapter that we were doing by Morris Sandak. Yeah, so in Where the Wild Things Are, in the last class, if you remember, we discussed about this boy Max, who was irritating his mother uh, by dressing up in a wolf's suit and doing all kinds of naughty stuff. And his mother, and his mother gets angry with him and locks him up in his bedroom without giving him food for the night. And he goes to sleep angry, and in his dreams, he sees that he travels to look for the wild things. And after a year of sailing in a boat, he finally meets the wild things. And once he meets the wild things, he has a lot of fun. And once he meets the wild things call him the wildest thing, and they turn Max into the king. And as a king, he has a lot of fun, but eventually he gets homesick and he wants to come back home. And when he comes back home, he realizes that his mother has left him warm food and he is very happy. So this is the main story that we discussed. The reason why we were discussing this story was because we were discussing the function of picture books. As I told you, picture books primarily are used for children. But again, it's not just children's book, because picture books can be available for adults, and graphic novels are available for adults. So, but in this particular case, this picture book, Where the Wild Things Are by Morris and Dack, it is a children's picture book. And in this picture book, this is the story of Max. So what we will talk about now that you know the summary of what happens in the story, we will look at the the structure of the story, and we will discuss the summary. So if you notice the story has three parts. As you can see, the first part is when Max is dressed up as the wolf and he's doing all his naughtiness, and it is before he goes to bed. The second part is when his mother is angry with him and his mother locks him up in the room, and he goes to sleep and he travels to the land of the wild things and the fun that he has over there in his dreams. And the third part is when he upon waking up. So the story has three clear parts. So the first part we all know that most stories have three parts, which is a beginning, a middle, and an end. Which means in the beginning some action happens. There is a middle of the story where you know you meet most of the characters, most of the action happens, a lot of meandering also happens. Meandering ka matlab like kuch insignificant details are there. Then there are some pillars, some boring parts, but also a lot of action is happening. जैसे beginning is very important for every story क्योंकि you need to draw the interest of the people in the beginning. जैसे remember when we were doing interview or when we were doing the first chapter, introducing yourself, one of the first things that I said is that it is very important that you introduce yourself in a manner that people are interested in you. So because and they should be interested in you from the start in a certain way. हर वक्त होता नहीं है, but the attempt should be that you come off as an interesting person to the person that you're introducing yourself to. This is the importance of a beginning. The starting should be interesting, or the starting should have the capacity of pulling you into the story or into your introduction, so that they want to stay on and know कि इसके बाद होता क्या है. So that similarly, even in a story, you have a beginning, jahan pe you get the introduction. We are introduced to this character of Max. We are introduced to him being this naughty child who is running around in the wolf suit, who is bothering the family dog, whose mother is irritated with him. So we get a beginning in a story. Now the middle is jahan pe sab action hota hai, with Max traveling to look for the wild things, etc, etc. And then the end is usually a conclusion jahan pe resolution hota hai for the action that was happening in the story. Ye movies में भी ऐसे ही होता है. Think about any movie that you watch. There is a beginning, शुरुआत में, when you are introduced to the characters, जो actors है उनके characters you are introduced to. Then बीच में so much action happens, इधर उधर जाना, this person is meeting this person, this is happening, that is happening, and then finally पूरा end में, end का climax and everything, there's a climax and all, there's a resolution to the plot. Like the action comes to a close, the story becomes a complete whole. That is usually how a story is divided. So however, this story follows a fairy tale pattern, where an initial calm and happy atmosphere is disturbed by some evil character and something valuable is either lost or taken away. So even though there is a beginning, middle and end to this particular story also, where the wild things are, but this story is also fairy tale like, because obviously you can see यहाँ पे Max is living with the animals and they can talk, etc, etc. So obviously it's fairy tale like, it's not very much like reality. And you know the pattern of how fairy tales work, right? Think about any fairy tale that you have written. Think about Snow White, you have read. Think about Cinderella, think about Snow White. Like how does Cinderella start? Initially, Cinderella is a very happy child until her mother dies and she has a stepmother. And in this stepmother is this evil character who comes in and takes away everything from her. She's treated like the servant of the house. She's made to do all the housework, etc, etc. So similarly, even in this story where the wild things are, even in this story, obviously Max is very happy at home and Max is very he's a playful naughty child, but in the dream he suddenly goes away to the wild things and there is like a disruption that happens. He goes away from home, his loving comfortable home. So you can see that it follows the pattern of a fairy tale. It is not a fairy tale because there are no fairies, there is no fairy godmother, there is no magic really, but it follows or imitates the pattern of a fairy tale. And this is followed by a quest or search for whatever is lost. So you know that it is followed even in this story. Like in Cinderella, you remember the prince is searching, is on a quest to find whose shoe it is, whose foot fits perfectly into the shoe. Similarly, here Max is on a quest to look for where the wild things live. He wants to meet the wild things. The hero recovers the lost item with the help of some magic. And finally, the initial situation of the calm returns in a modified and better way. So that is the format of a fairy tale. Like the hero does discover with the help of, like, he does discover the person, like the lost item. In case of Cinderella, like the prince does come across Cinderella with, like, whose foot fits perfectly into the shoe, and then they get married and the whole calm returns. Like, it's better. Cinderella is now in a better place. She's become like the princess, like the, and she's going to become queen, etc., etc. So similarly, even in Max's story, this format takes place, but in a different way. Because, like I said, Where the Wild Things Are is not ultimately a fairy tale. What it is, however, it follows or mimics the pattern of a fairy tale. So now let us see how it does that. The first part of the story begins with Max wearing his wolf suit and making mischief. That I already said, the three parts. Obviously, before wearing the wolf suit, he wasn't making any mischief and was a good boy. So wearing the wolf suit transforms him from a good boy to a wild thing. He is just doing this for naughtiness. Obviously, he's not really a wild thing, but he tries to mimic the behavior of a wild animal, which is why he's being so naughty, he's irritating the dog and all of that. Why might you ask? Might you ask a wolf suit and why not a dog suit? Obviously, this is a hypothetical question. The answer to that question is simple. Wolf is considered to be a wily and wicked creature. Again, I think this is a personal interpretation, but you know that this is how it works in fairy tales. You remember Red Riding Hood, where Red Riding Hood, instead of the grandmother, there was a wolf waiting for Red Riding Hood. So you get that a wolf is usually considered as a wicked creature, at least in the world of fairy tales or in the world of fantasy and imagination. The wolf is also considered as a voracious eater and a voracious and greedy eater. So yeah, like I said, you remember Red Riding Hood. Here also they've given you the example of Red Riding Hood. So like usually the wolf is not considered to be a very peaceful animal. So the moment Max wears that suit, Max starts behaving like the wolf, who is a very wicked creature. And this is disturbing to his mother, because you remember he told his mother, I will eat you up, which is not something that a small boy usually tells his mother. So his mother is very disturbed and his mother decides to punish him. And in getting this punishment, he is angry, unhappy, and but he has to obey his mother because she is obviously older and she has authority. But he doesn't want to accept this authority because, you know, as children, none of us like being punished, because why should we be punished, right? Even though we know that we later on understand that our parents had been doing it for some good thing. So, but even similarly, because Max is a child and Max cannot immediately see why his mother is punishing him for his behavior, he is angry because he has been punished. So the second part of the story, he wants to figure out how it is being an authority, where he starts going on his imaginary journey after falling asleep. And in his dream, this journey has two dimensions. One is outward physical journey and the other is the inward journey of discovery. So even though his dream is about sailing away from his bedroom in that boat to look for the wild things and finally becoming the king of the wild things, it is also discovering something within himself. After he has all the fun with the wild things, he realizes that he misses the comfort of his home. He misses the warm food of his home. He misses his warm bed. He realizes that. So it is a journey that, even though it is and he has to go outward, go in search for a life, like go in search for these wild things to realize what he actually wants. He actually wants the comfort of his home. He actually wants the comfort of like he actually wants to uh, live in the love and affection that he has at home. So you see that this journey signifies two things. So when Max falls asleep, he is angry and hungry, like we know, and in his sleep he sees a wild forest grow within his room. This indicates that the wild forest has invaded his home. The wild forest reflects his mental state. He now goes on a journey to find the wild things. And as it happens in a fairy tale, the wild things live far away from human civilization, and he has to sail for a year to come to the forest where the wild things live. And what does he find there? He finds scary looking creatures, and these creatures are very unhappy to see him. it seems like they don't have a king, and in other words, an authority figure. Like I said, at the end of the day, Max is, when he goes to sleep, like, why does he have this dream? It's because he is in a conflicted state about everything that has happened just before he fell asleep. He fell asleep hungry, he's been punished. His mother is the authority figure that punished him. So he realizes, and he's very angry. So he's in a very wild state of mind, as we would say, and he imagines this forest that grows in his room. And in this forest, uh, and through this forest, he goes to look for where the wild things are. And when he reaches where the wild things live, he realizes they don't have an authority figure like he does. Like, they don't have a mother to punish him. And you can see why he must like that. He was just punished, so he's not happy with the punishment. But uh, Max is not scared. He uses the magic words "be still" and the magic trick of staring into their yellow eyes without blinking once, to tame them and to make them obey him. So when, with the help of magic, he tames the wild things and becomes the king. For Max, there is a role reversal here in the forest. At home, he is the wild thing and has to obey the authority, which is his mother. But in this jungle, he is the authority. So you can see how his dream is working out for him. In his dream, he is playing the role of his mother, the authority to the wild things, so that there is nobody to punish him and he has nobody to obey. And this role reversal is very important. Why is it important? Because it is here that Max will learn some valuable lessons. He will learn the lesson uh, that will help him finally know why he misses the comfort of his home and why he wants to go back home. So when he, like, first they have all the mischief and all the fun, as we see in the story, and Max is able to, do all the things that he can't probably do at home because he'll get punished, or is scared to do at home now for punishment. But after a while he grows tired of it, like, because how much naughtiness can you do, right? After that you're just tired because you are constantly doing these naughty things, and it stops becoming rewarding. And this has happened with all of us as children, as adults. Initially we find everything fun, and then we just become tired of it because it's the same thing. And that even happens with Max realizes that first it is very fun, to have no mother to tell you don't do this, don't do that. But then he becomes very, very bored, and he just doesn't want to do it anymore. He starts feeling lonely, because at the end of the day you start missing home, and you start missing your mother, you start missing the authority figure even though she punishes you. And he's able to make the wild things obey, but he can't make them love him. So this is a very important thing. You need love at the end of the day. People might respect you, people might obey you, but they are never enough if it doesn't come with love. So all the wild things that he meets in the forest, they all respect him and they all consider him to be the king, but they don't love him like his mother does, and he misses that. So even though he dislikes the discipline that his mother gives, or the punishments that she gives him, he starts missing her, because she also gives him love, she gives him warmth, she gives him food, she gives him shelter. And all the comfortable things in the world he starts missing. And he realizes that to enjoy something, you need to have a little discipline. And you need love with it. You can't just enjoy something if there is no heart in it. And this is a very big realization even we have as adults every now and then. For our personal relationships, for things we like to do, for our careers. The only reward that we can truly get is when we get some love from it, when that thing makes us happy. Just because someone respects us, and just because someone is obeying our orders and like whatever we are saying, it is not going to give us the happiness as it does with all the other affection that you can probably have. Like, even though his mother was not allowing him to do all the things that he wanted to do, his mother still was giving him, like, his mother still gave him love and warmth, and that is exactly what he starts missing. And he wants to come back to his mother and resolve this problem that he has, which means that he's angry with her and everything, because ultimately he misses that. So he again, the third part is him again sailing back home. And even though the wild things try to stop him, he he does not obviously stay back. He comes back, and he, as soon as he comes back home, he smells good food coming from far away. And after like in his dreams, he has sailed for such a long time, right? It took him 1 year to go and find the wild things. So when he wakes up, he finally sees warm food waiting for him, and this is the warmth that he was missing. Like this is what he was missing, that warmth, the love, that he's in his dream, he has traveled so much, so he's so tired, and as soon as he wakes up, he sees this warm food waiting for him, and he's so happy. So this is how the story is divided into three parts. So now we can obviously summarize the story. The summary of the story is that like we discussed, picture books are very important, and they to the development of children. Like I said in the last class, that picture books help children associate the word with the picture. Like say A for apple, and you see a drawing of an apple in the book, and the child knows that acha isko apple bolte hai, and that realization is very important for the development of children. And uh, and this deep story that we just studied, right, this where the wild things are, in this story, the one thing that we realize is that it is because of the pictures that the children will understand it more, will like it more, rather than only if the words were written. So it also helps in you know uh, grasping the attention of children, uh, helps children develop comprehension skills, a story sense, uh, all of these things about how a story works. It helps them develop values that help them in life. The story Where the Wild Things Are is a story about Max, which we studied. Uh, and the fourth point, the story has a fairy tale structure, which we just discussed, and through it, it gives you important lessons of discipline and the importance of love in our lives, which we also discussed. It tells us that we must resolve our conflicts and our problems through our imagination and stories. Now, I know that this is not possible all the time in real life, but it is important that we try to understand it on a deeper level and try to resolve most of the conflicts that we have with other people in life, because we all know life is too short, right? And it's no point holding grudges, no point having these conflicts. It's always, we thrive in safe and better, like we thrive in an environment that's safe, we thrive in an environment that's full of love, and it is what we should seek out for ourselves, and we should always be grateful for it, even though those the places or the people who give us love often also discipline us, like Max's mother. But it's okay, at the end of the day we need both of that. So this is the story, and you can see why the story is important. Now they have given you a glossary, which means the words with this meaning. You can study this for, like, you can read the story, and you can obviously look up the words. Now the reason why this is important is, in your exam when you get a comprehension, you will often be given words and be told to write the synonym of that word from the passage, like the comprehension passage. इसका मतलब is that जो word दिया हुआ है, for example adequate, आपको पैसेज पढ़ के बोलना पड़ेगा कि वहां पे कौन सा वर्ड मीन्स एडिक्वेट, या फिर कौन सा फ्रेज मीन्स एडिक्वेट. तो आपको मीनिंग्स पता होना चाहिए, so that you can locate the meaning of that word or a synonym of that word in the passage that is given to you, which is why this is important. Like obviously इस words में से नहीं आएगा, it will come from the passage that is given to you. So practice is the only way for you to get this right. Now, as for the RTI, which I said I will discuss in the next class, because I will send you the 2 videos that I want you to watch, and with the support, once you have watched those videos, we will discuss an RTI. So today what I will discuss with you is the format of a diary entry. So before we start that, if anyone has any questions regarding the chapter that we just did, just quickly ask. I'll just drink some water and then we'll start with the diary entry. I think your exams are still going to happen in online mode at least immediately. Abhi tak to offline ka I haven't heard anything, so I'm not sure. But I think online ही होगा for now. Anyone has any questions regarding the chapter that we did? Then ask. Otherwise, we'll start with diary. Okay, then we'll just start with what a diary entry is. Now, we did this very briefly in the last class. I don't mean the last class, we did it when we did the Bhimayana chapter. So today I'll just teach you the pattern. So, and then we will discuss the question jo Bhimayana, like the one that was in the Bhimayana chapter, and you can see what you're supposed to do. So what is a diary entry? A diary entry is to write something in your personal diary, as you can understand. So a lot of us have a journal, right, where we write our day-to-day life, like today this is what happened, today this happened. If something interesting happens, if something happy happens, or something sad happens, a lot of us keep a journal and we write about it in the journal. So journal keeping as a method is very important for your own personal growth. What do I mean by that? Uh, if you were to go, if someone is a regular journal writer, someone regularly records their life in a journal, maybe 2-3 years later, if they come back to reading what they have journaled 2-3 years ago, they realize the changes, the growth, where they are lacking. So it helps you in self-reflection. It helps you in understanding uh, where you might be going wrong, where you might have to focus. And it helps you remember things, obviously, because we don't have a photographic memory. We can't remember every single day of our lives. So sometimes it also makes us happy, sometimes it might make us sad. So journal writing as an exercise is very important for self growth, for self reflection, to become better human beings, and it's a part of our personality development. Now, again, because it's a very personal thing, there is not always a method that we can follow in writing it. Like there is no proper format that someone can tell you ki this is the only correct format. There is no other format. Like for example, like the FIR, that is the format of an FIR. You can't write an FIR in any way that you want. You have to follow a particular format. But when it comes to personal things, we take some liberty, we have some freedom to decide how we want to do it. But there are still certain loose rules, as I would say, like certain not very particular uh, gospel rules कि ये करना ही है. But there are just some rules that make it easier for you to keep a record. So those are the rules that we are going to discuss today. So the first rule of a diary would be to write the date. So always write the date when you're writing, because that is the whole point, right? So that you remember कि इस दिन क्या हुआ था. And by the date I mean the full date, even the year. Unless you use one journal for 1 year and आप journal के ऊपर ही लिख रहे हो, like जैसे 2020, 2021, so then you can just write the month and the date, like the particular date and the month. But if that is not the case, then you should also mention the year, because that is how you're going to be able to analyze your own opinions, your own growth, your own feelings, your own emotions, etc. So because so the date is one of the first things that you should keep in mind. Then a lot of people start with like Dear Diary. Now you don't have to write Dear Diary, but then it starts feeling more personal, like you're addressing it to someone, you're having a conversation with someone, you're discussing it with someone. I think what a conversation opens up is like, say, when you're having a conversation with your friend, it always opens up that whole avenue, right? That you open up more, you share more, you're more comfortable. So that is why I think just if you have like, if you write Dear Diary, it just feels like you're sharing something with a friend of yours. And it's just not like a piece of, like it's just not a notebook, it's just not a paper. Then the other suggestion that you can do is choose a topic. Now, by choose a topic means what are you going to discuss about your day? See, most of us have identical days. जैसे आप सुबह उठते हो, you brush, you bathe, you have breakfast, आप पढ़ाई करते हो, classes करते हो, then maybe थोड़ा खेलते हो or you do some of your extracurriculars, फिर आप थोड़ा पढ़ाई करके खाना खा के सो जाते हो. Like that is more or less the routine that all of us have in our lives. We wake up, we do work, we have a little recreation, we eat, we go to sleep. But so obviously this is not what we are going to write in our diary as a routine, right? So there are, but some things happen every day that are little different from the other days. तो हम लोग ये differences को ही usually diaries में लिखते हैं कि आज ऐसे हुआ था, या फिर आज ये टॉपिक डिस्कस हो रहे थे क्लास में, या फिर something interesting comes up, you have a small achievement, something sad happens to you, so you choose a topic for the particular day and you write mostly about that. So that keeps your diary not just organized, but it helps the purpose of the diary. That writing a journal is usually to make yourself light, to take off something that's bothering you, or to not have everything in your head, but to just write it out. So this process helps where you choose a topic and you write about that. Now the other thing is to be sincere, which means to be honest. ये आपके diary है, no one is going to read this diary. So be as honest as possible to yourself, be as sincere as possible, even if you have negative feelings. Say someone topped the class and you were expecting to get better marks than that person, and that makes you very angry or makes you very jealous. It's okay if you write it in your diary that it made me jealous. That helps you confront your feelings. It helps you confront the jealousy or the negative feeling that you felt inside you, that you could not be happy for this other person because you thought you would be that person. So it's important that you don't be afraid of what you are writing, because the whole process is to let yourself free, to confront your emotions, to see and understand what you're feeling, just not in your head but also in front of your eyes. So that is very important. Always be sincere in a diary entry. A diary entry is very personal, and the whole point of personal writing is to be sincere. Then obviously ask yourself questions that why am I feeling like this? What happened for me to feel like this? Try to try to be introspective, मतलब try to reflect, try to dig deep inside you. हम लोग जो इतना सब सेकेंडरी रीडिंग्स कर रहे हैं जिसमें द ओनली थिंग दैट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इज आप एक चीज को कैसे बहुत तरीके से पढ़ सकते हो, just not on the surface कि जो लिखा है, but even what is underneath is the deeper meaning. So the same thing you do with yourself, just not the surface feeling. Try to dig in, try to understand कि ऐसे कि why am I feeling jealous of this person who scored more than me? What is the actual issue? So ask these questions to yourself. It always helps. And this is basically the format of a diary. And this is how you should write a diary. Now, as you can see, diary entry usually comes in your exam. So you will have to, they will give you the topic remember I told you one of the points is to choose the topic. So the topic will be given to you and you have to discuss that topic only in that particular diary entry. So all you have to do is write the date, write the month, write the year, start with say Dear Diary or however you want to start, and discuss the topic as frankly as possible. Your opinions, why you feel like that, be sincere, be honest, ask questions. That is it. That is all you're supposed to do. So see, for example, Let us look at one question, for example. So they have given you to write a diary entry on your last day of school. So you write about your last day of school in your diary, or you write your diary entry about your last birthday. So you can see the topic is very simple. You just have to personally write in your diary about how you felt in the last day of school, describe that day, etc., etc., or you write about your birthday. So you can see these are very simple things. So you can practice this, do this. Uh, write both. Exam mein it's an or option, but write both. A diary entry on the last day of your school. You all must. I know that you had your last day of school was online, which is also something you can write in your diary, like all that you thought would happen when uh, the pandemic didn't start and how it actually happened. Just be honest. Write your frustrations about the pandemic. Write your frustrations with how everything happened online. Just be honest and write that. Or write about your last birthday, how much fun you had, which friends were invited. Or if you didn't have a good day, write about that it was your birthday and you thought you would have a good day. It was not that good a day. So just be honest and write. It will just help you. So yeah, this is what I had to discuss in this class. Now, if anybody has any questions, please ask. Any questions, any doubts about the chapter that we did today, any queries? So nobody has any questions? Okay, the things that I'm left to discuss with you are I'm left to discuss film review and book review with you, which I will do. And I am left to discuss the RTI, and I will discuss. One day we will talk about interview and dialogue in a little more detail. So I still have 5 classes with you, so we will have enough time for revision as well after we discuss book review, film review, RTI, and the dialogue and interview one day. We will have uh, we will have another 1 or 2 classes to discuss everything that we did so far. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, then please ask. Because I taught you for whatever I had to teach. So okay, nobody. I don't think anybody has questions. Uh, since we have some time left, so I can just give you a brief about what we will do in the next class or in the next unit, because we finished unit 4. So the next unit, what we are going to do is this very long chapter. So obviously we will take time with it. It won't get over so soon, which is fine, like I said. So we will try to look at the next chapter is interface with technology. So there's this story that we're going to discuss is Priya Shakti, and it's a comic book again, and through that we are going to learn how to read a graphic text, and how to deal with sensitive issues. Now, the other thing that this course has tried to do is teach you how to deal with sensitive issues. We have talked about gender aspects in the Lost Word by Esther Morgan. We have talked about ambitions in Amalkanti. We have talked about Bhimayana and caste issues. So here also we are going to discuss how to discuss these sensitive issues, which is important for your Facebook and Twitter posts. How you can be more opinionated, how you can have more meaningful opinions as we discussed. Then we will again talk about gender-based violence against women. We will identify unfair attitudes towards women. We will try to look at the problem with society at large, discover how fiction and reality, which means stories and the real world, actually come together and how fiction is a reflection of reality. And we will learn about uh, how we can how we can enhance our experience of reality by being better, by having better opinions, by understanding these issues, etc. So we will do this chapter with a lot of detail and in sense, like very sensitively, because it's about teaching you as students how to read sensitive topics. And at the same time, we will do all the extra things that have been suggested to us. Uh, Extra things in the sense the things actually that come in the exam, like all the formats and everything. We will discuss that. So in the next class, we will definitely discuss the RTI and finish it along with starting this chapter. So this is my lesson plan for the next class. I can repeat Amalkanti, but we will do it when we finish the other things. Like I will not immediately teach Amalkanti again, because that will be like a revision. Anybody with any other questions? Okay, then I will meet you all next day and we will finish the RTI and we'll start with this. Have a good week, everyone. Stay safe. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you.